friends, Kelly here. Welcome back to my channel. Behold, a whole bunch of projects. I wanted to take some time to talk through what I'm thinking for 2023 and just kind of a whole overarching creative world / personal world, work world, all the things. So I've been thinking this morning about this last month, the month of December, and how much joy I have found in saying no and doing less. And one of the things that I kind of just popped into my head this morning, and I don't even know where it came from because I wasn't seeking this out today, but I decided that I'm going to do one little word, Allie Edwards, one little word this year. I haven't done it in quite a few years, and I don't have a great track record with this. And I'm going to share about that in just a minute. So when I started thinking about how I'm going to approach this, if I even wanted to do this, which I had to send a message to my best friend and say, I'm thinking about doing this. And she's like my human diary. I've said that multiple times. And it should have started with, Dear Diary, I'm thinking about doing one little word. And she said, you should totally go for it. So as I was preparing myself this morning to think, okay, well, I want to get this rolling and be ready to go, I started for some reason thinking about previous projects I've worked on, and I ended up pulling all of this out and putting it on my desk. And then I thought about you guys, my friends out there in the creative world, and just kind of how some of us are probably all in the same boat. So what I want to do here is work through some of these projects and just I'm not going to do like flip throughs and full project shares. I'm going to literally talk through, coach myself, as it were, on what I liked and what I didn't like about these particular projects. And I have a reason for this. I'm going somewhere with this. I want to set myself up for success this year on working on projects that I find truly joyful and will complete, because I do find a lot of joy in that. So I'm going to pull some of this aside. I have a lot to go through. And like I said, I'm not going to go through every single one, flip through. But I do want to note that if there is anything that I come across that you are curious about, I'll try to make sure I reference any videos I've done previously about any of these projects. Or if I've never done a video on it, depending on where this goes, please drop me a comment and I would love to explore it further or have a conversation. So let me move some of this aside. I'm going to talk about these projects and their successes and fails, or in my eyes, fails. I want to start with two particular projects. This is like a lot. This I've shown before, is my December planner. And I use that term loosely because I'm not a planner person. I've wanted to be. I've bought many planners. I'm not that great at it. My life is a bit more just fly by the seat of my pants. However, in December, I do work through the month using a planning system. And it works for me because what I do is I have a calendar, which I vaguely use, but I set myself up that if I wanted to, I certainly could. And I have an advent calendar. This is probably the more important thing. This is what helps me. This is for my kids, and it helps me to make sure we're doing intentional activities throughout the month. So I have things like family coloring night, game night. It's our wedding anniversary in December, so date night, and just all the different things we're doing. And then I might have to move things around based on my daughter's basketball schedule that usually comes out later in the month. That didn't happen this year, which was awesome. I also keep track of things like cookies I want to try making, decorating things I want to do, photos I want to take, and then all of the gifts for the kids and all the people in my life. And typically I do track what I'm hosting, what I'm bringing places, what Christmas Eve I have to remember all the things, Christmas Day, the New Year. And then I took it out this year because when I built this, I knew I wasn't going to need it. And I'll come back to that thought in just a second, but also gratitude, which I'm going to come back in at some point in the next day or two and write down all the things. I want to do some reflection this year instead of as I was going. I decided I wanted to reflect on it. I always have a big section in here on handmade gifts. I didn't do any of that this year. And that kind of brings me to my point of where I'm at right now on thinking about 2023 and how December was so wonderful. I said no. I said no to Christmas cards. I said no to handmade gifts. I said no to just the busyness of Christmas and the season. And that opened up so much room for joy, and I loved it. And so this morning when I started thinking about how do I capture that in a word? I was really struggling with kind of finding a word for it. And then I decided I was going to go ahead and do one little word. I went in to watch the first lesson, and it's really a conversation that Allie Edwards had with her One Little Word team about their word and how their journey of discovering their word or finding their word or their word finding them, etc. And one of the ladies on that group said the word less, and it was like, bing, that's it, light bulb. That captures exactly what it is I want in 2023. I want less craziness, less busyness, less pressure, less of the stuff and the things and all of it. So I have decided that for one little word, I printed out the sheet, which I already found my word. Usually it's a whole process of writing words out and thinking about them and defining them, but this was just like so instant. So I have created my definition of less. So that's where it brought me to opening up my One Little Word album from previous years. So this is the album, and I kind of have the same process. I've done this several years, and I always put my definition in the front. I'll do a page like this that says the word and then the definition. So that's consistent through the many times I've done this. Let me see if I can find the next one. Okay. That one. Here it is again. And here it is again. So I will be creating that. I will be working through this album. I'm excited. I'll talk more about this project in just a moment in the fails. But what I want to share is several projects because this isn't just about my One Little Word journey for 2023 and how I'm setting myself up for that. This is really going back and reflecting on all this creative stuff I have and what I've enjoyed and what I have not. So I thought as this whole process of me kind of coaching myself for success in 2023 would be to go back and look at, like I said, what's worked, what hasn't. So I'm going to go one by one through each of these projects and, like I said, just do a quick overview, highlight of what worked, what didn't, what it is. And again, anything you can jump in the comments and ask me questions. So let's go ahead and get started with my One Little Word album. So One Little Word entered my life in the year 2015. And it was, the whole thing was pretty life-changing, actually. But I had never really heard or I hadn't really known much about One Little Word. But my best friend, Crystal, had been doing it or had done it the previous year. And she said, hey, you want to give this a try with me? So I said, okay, I'll do it. I'm pretty impulsive when it comes to new projects, which you can probably tell if you've been around on my channel for any length of time. I'm all in, like, instantly. So I loved this project, and my first year I chose the word connect. I dove right into defining the word and making a vision board and creating all of the pieces that went with it. And what I think I liked about this process and what I continue to like about it is that it's very guided with journaling. I hate journaling so much, but I am very grateful when I take the time to do it because I look back on it and I go, oh, I wouldn't even know I wrote that. So the whole process was, I really enjoyed it. Now, her and I would go to the coffee shop and every month kind of have like this little date with ourselves and just be accountable to it. So we would go together, but we would really just kind of focus on our own things and do some of the prompts. And I was really enjoying that part of it too. So I was really working through the prompts and the word connect. I had some pretty specific things I wanted to do through connect. And let me see if I can go back and find them here. And it's hard for me to know, looking back on this, whether this was my own prompting or through the lessons Allie did. I don't remember, but I know that I had intentional things I wanted to see happen that year, and some of them were personal things, some of them were in relationships, some were emotional things, and some were spiritual things. Now, at this point, I was not a Christian, but I was definitely starting to feel myself seeking something. But it was like super deep level, like I wasn't super conscious of it. But just to give an example, things like personal was to find and create time for me to be creative, explore writing and art more, try out creating methods that are unfamiliar or even uncomfortable to me, slow down and enjoy the process, move past the preparation phase quicker, but not entirely, because that's a definite thing for me. Find way to connect with different forms of creativity like painting, poetry, photography, and find new hobbies that might be interesting to me. I've certainly carried that through. My relationships, things like listen more attentively to Gwen. That's my oldest daughter. And at this point, it was my only daughter. Find activities that bring us together each day as a family and reach out to friends and family for quality time. Emotional was things like explore what makes me happy, fearful, joyful, resentful, scared, proud, or sentimental. And spiritual. This is so interesting to me here. In the spiritual aspect of intentions, I put open myself to hear about God and faith and to see how God shows me ways in which he is already present in my life. Continue to introduce Gwen to God and faith and work together with Jeff to find a path of faith for our family. Well, on September 13th of 2015, I completely, shockingly, and not prepared and not planning, I gave my life to Jesus that morning at church. First time I had visited this church by a friend asking me to go, and it completely changed my life. So that was a pretty fruitful year. And so I did some of the prompts, but not too far in. I want to say this was probably like March or April, and then it petered out, as do most things. Next year, I didn't do it. I kind of started, but then I decided not to. So skipped 2016, went into 2017, and it was faith, because at that point I was really starting to develop and build my walk with Jesus. So I had a lot of it dealing with faith. So I did some of the things again, and I think this was February was practice, and that's as far as I got. Then in 2018, so 2017, 2018, I chose the word change. And this word was already kind of embedded in my life, because in 2017, I went through, we had been going through a lot of infertility stuff, and the journey was getting pretty rocky. And I ended up abandoning all of the fertility drugs, all the things we were doing, and saying, I can't do this anymore. And God blessed us with a child. Unfortunately, that baby, I lost that baby in pregnancy at 10 weeks, and God has a greater plan than we can ever imagine. And so then very shortly after I lost that baby on June 1st, I think it was like August 2nd or 3rd, I discovered I was pregnant again. And that brought us our wonderful Lillian, who is the light of our life. So coming into 2018, I was pregnant. And I was already anticipating a lot of change. So I embraced change, and I was excited for it. And again, I decided I would go ahead and do all the stuff. And I didn't even make it to the January prompt. So I don't have a very good track record with one little word. So this year is going to be interesting to see how that works out. But I'm also kind of okay with it, because even though I might not have done the monthly prompts, I was still focused on that word to some degree. So this year, again, I'm going to choose less. So I'm going to work through that in the days coming. Let me move now to some of the projects that I have done over the years and have loved and struggled with and hated and abandoned and all the things. So next up, let's go ahead and look at project life and how that's evolved in my existence. I am sure that some of you are project life fans, are probably still deep into project life, and I do love this project. This is one of my books. I started Project Life in, I want to say 2013. But this is probably the last book that I completed in the style of a 12 by 12, and I literally was doing it week to week, which I think is what a lot of people who do Project Life are. So I did my whole week to week documenting, and the way I approached this is that every week was completely its own spread. There was really no cohesion to this project. I just kind of, whatever spoke to me is what I did. Oh my gosh, this is fun to look at. This has a hilarious story. So at any rate, I was doing it week to week. So in 2017, that is when, let's see, I had to go through some hard stuff. And I don't know where, yeah, there was a lot of things that happened. Losing the baby, the pregnancy, and then finding out I was pregnant again, and just a lot of ups and downs, a lot of crazy life. So this was a really great, probably final year to do this whole style. So that is what Project Life looked like for me. And that was truly my only real crafty adventures for quite some time. In 2018, I decided to do kind of more like a traveler's notebook style. I didn't put those out on my desk because it's just traveler's notebook, little mini spreads. I didn't finish that. I'm still working through that book. I might go back and do this style. I haven't decided, but this was 2019. And for 2019, I still did a similar thing to Project Life, but I chose to do it in batches of the month. So I would write out, and there's a video that I shared all of this with, so I'll be sure to link that. But I would share a monthly kind of synopsis of the month, like an overview, month in review, whatever you want to call it, and then really just photos. And so as I quickly page through this, you can see there's, other than the story piece, and I was kind of experimenting with style and size and all these things. Other than that, there's really not a lot of, there's like basically no journaling. It's just the photos that tell the stories of what was going on. And I really, really loved this whole project. I also was able to do it in like a huge bunch, like a batch. Like I got this whole book done in probably, I think I figured out from start to finish. I didn't do it all in one sitting, but start to finish, it was like 8 hours or something crazy. Like it just went together super fast. So I'm doing the same thing for 2020. I'm about, I have all the pictures printed and in the book in all the pages. I just have to go back in and add the embellishments and the monthly stories. But this is much better for our current life, the way we are. I don't have stories to tell every week. It's more about what's been going on in the month. So I do love this project. I will continue this through. I'm glad that my Project Life style evolved and I'm embracing it. So this is what Project Life, which I know is actually, I believe, a branded term. Becky Higgins coined that one, but life documenting, we'll call it. That's how that looks for me now. And I do love this project. But this project is more of a reflection and batch system. I do not do this currently. Like, there's no way I could do that. And I never really truly did. That was never my intention or my style. And since I'm talking about documenting life, I have 2 more books here. This one is December. So this is December Daily 2019. I'm starting my 2020 book. I'm a bit behind. But this is another way of documenting life. And I truly love this project. It is such a great opportunity to play and have fun and document all of the stuff that we do in December. Now, this one in 2018, I truly was having a story for every single day, which I like. I like the comfort of having the numbers and kind of going in a chronological order. I really do enjoy that. However, I realized when I was printing my 2020 photos that that's not really accurate anymore. And I always do go through the 31st. So this is my 2019 book, which I just finished in the first part of December of this year. So a little behind. In 2020's book, it will be more stories. So I'm changing this concept in my world from December daily to December documented. So 2020 will look different, and I'm, again, okay with the evolution of this project in my life. Now, speaking of 2020, I did Week in the Life in 2020 because there wasn't a whole lot going on. It was in May, and so I have this whole entire book that was 1 week of our life during a pandemic. So I'm really, really grateful I have this project. I have it documented for that particular season of life, but I have no interest in doing this again. It was kind of a lot of work and a little tedious, actually. While I did enjoy this process of documenting throughout the day, keeping kind of like this ongoing little journal, and having photos and getting creative with photos, like it was really a fun opportunity to take pictures in a different light. I had a little tripod and I would set up timed photos and just capture little moments. So like me making my coffee in the morning, cooking meals, just getting the mail, like just different perspectives than I normally capture. I really did enjoy that, and I would like to bring that back in somehow into documenting. But I, again, have no interest truly in doing Week in the Life, at least at this point in my life. And you could see, again, here we go with how these go. I have all the photos in here, but then I stopped doing the documenting part, or the adding all the bits. So I might come back to this project and finish that out. I might not. Again, not super worried, but I recognize through this project that I did enjoy the documenting part, but I didn't really follow through on the creating of the book. So I'm okay with that. Now, speaking of documenting things, that brings me into these projects. So let me set these aside. I have shared this on my channel here. I made this little notebook, I think, last summer. And it's basically just this little notebook that I made to document and plan out a vacation. So it has things like listing, meal planning, and then it does have a bit of documenting. So the one thing I pulled from the Week in the Life project that I really, really did love was just kind of keeping an ongoing tally throughout the day of what's going on. So in this book, which documented our 2021 summer vacation, our year-end end of summer vacation that we did, I did the same concept. I just kept an ongoing little document. Every day I had this book out and I would flip to the next page and just write down some of the things we were doing. I had a space for keeping some of my grocery lists, my notes, and I really, really enjoyed that. So this past summer, I made a few more of these notebooks. So we did another week-long vacation, and I made the notebook, and then I didn't really use all the pages to their full intention, but I did like having it, and I will like looking back on this next year. But truthfully, what happened, as you can see, is I didn't document any of the day stuff, is that I just set this whole thing aside and was present. I was just present the whole time. I enjoyed the vacation, and I was okay with kind of letting this little notebook idea go to the wayside. But I'm going to do it again next year. I'll do it again. I also created a camping version, which I used last summer. And again, that was to help me stay on track with packing and meals and just kind of all of the things. And then I have some extra blank pages. So I'll probably make another one of these for next year because it was two things. it was a fun process to just create this little book. And also, I am grateful that I can go back and look at what, just kind of some of the things that we were doing, or what did I have to go through for packing or meals, things like that. So I do love these little notebooks. I have one that is completely ready to go for any little vacations next year. In fact, this was my mini version. I think I made a mini version for smaller, like weekend long vacations. Yeah, so it's ready to go for next summer. I can do at least two more trips in this book. So I do like that. And then I always seem to have all my lists with it. So this is kind of like a combo of Week in the Life, the daily documenting, my December planner, and just that I can keep track of things that are going on. And this really, really, truly does help me keep my sanity when it comes to trips and little getaways. This is a very brief project. I did this in 2020, and it is from Crystal Becker, I believe her name is. I don't even know if she's really has a presence any longer in the creative world. I don't know that she's done anything with her YouTube channel or Instagram. I haven't seen her in ages. But she was doing this thing where she kept like a creative calendar, planner thing. I don't know what she called it, but I loved the idea, and I was super busy with crafting and creating and doing all the things in this time period of my life because it was a pandemic and there was not much else to do. So I really dove in. It was kind of like my therapy. My way of processing everything that was going on in the world around me was in being creative. So this was a project that I briefly touched into, and I'm just really grateful I can look back on it, because again, that was a season of life that was so bizarre that I can look back and say, okay, well, this is what I did when we started, the world started going into a crazy pandemic, whatever it was. It was just crazy. So I have basically every single thing that was creatively happening in my life. I was doing the 100-day project, so I have a photo every day of the memory decks card I was doing, and really any other creative things, doing my YouTube channel, goals I was setting for myself, things that were happening, things I was involved in. So I have basically the month of May documented in some way or another. And that was and I didn't even make it all the way through May. So again, another one of those projects that I started and then it petered out quite quickly. But for what it's worth, I can look back on this and look at it and go, okay, I really loved it. And then I can look at it and go, well, what did I love about this? Well, I loved documenting what was going on. I love the color. I loved playing. I loved having a little bit of fun in very small pieces. So like you can see there's a little cluster down here. There's a little cluster here. There's a little going on here. Same thing here. And I kind of was maybe even creating a recipe. And I like that. I like doing these things. So here's another example of working through a project and discovering what do I like. I played with stamps. I just got to play. So this clearly had some benefit. So I have this little binder. Here is another one of those kind of daily documenting sort of little projects. This was, I'm trying to think of what it's called. Kelli Winnell, I believe it is, does, I want to say in October or November or somewhere around there, sometime in the year, she does like a 30 for 30 or something. I forget what she calls it. I think that's an ESPN thing. But anyway, basically it was to document 30 days of something. I don't remember. This was a while back. So again, 2020, October 1st. Okay, so I think it's October. I got off to a good start. I came up with a plan of how I was going to do this, like had this little tiny date stamped block thing. I came up with a thought process of, am I documenting a fact, a feeling, a memory? And I was going to go through and do this kind of storytelling process. I didn't make it very far. But I have revisited this project and I really do love it because it just is a way to document those weird one-off stories. So, like for example, I have a story about showering. I really just love taking a luxurious shower, and it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be self-care or any of those things. It shouldn't be a luxury to be able to just be a mom and take a shower, a long shower. So I wrote about that. I wrote about washi tape, how much I like washi tape. I wrote about games, playing games on my phone. This is personally one of my favorite games on my phone called Merge Dragons, and I still play it. Talked about, let's see, when I get ideas in my head and they just kind of take over. Mowing the lawn. I love mowing the lawn. It's one of my jobs around the house. I love it. And here you can see I made it through October 4th and I was doing these projects, this storytelling, and then I abandoned the project. But then I decided that's okay. I can just date this when I tell this story. So I was not mowing the lawn in February. I live in Minnesota. This is not happening. But on February 20th of 2022, I decided to talk about a memory. And I have this photo here. And then I went through and I realized that I'm just going to do the numbers based on the number of the story, not necessarily the number of the day or any of that thing. So I've set myself up to come back to this and do the journaling because, journaling, don't love it, but I do love it. I recognize that I do love having it. So here is, I've set myself up. I have a photo. I'm going to tell a story, a fact. I love cooking. It's a creative experience. Let's see. This one will be about a feeling, being a small group leader, and that it's a big responsibility and that I suffer with self-doubt. Here's one where I'm going to talk about how I love planning for things. I love planning for vacations. I love planning for parties. I just love this whole process and the anticipation of it. Feeling in love with my husband and that he's my best friend. And we've been together for, at this point, over 15 years. Now we've been together for almost 17 years, I think, maybe more. We just celebrated our 15-year wedding anniversary. But, so it's these stories that I don't have really documented anywhere else that I can come back and just write about. So I have printed out photos and created 15 stories that I can come and talk about. And I don't know what I was thinking when I took this photo, but when I get to this photo to tell this story, I know a story will present itself. This is actually, I can tell it's my family's chili recipe. So I'll probably talk about that, or my family, or cooking, or something. So I'm excited to have this book continue to fill up so that I can pass it on to my girls or give it to somebody that might care to read these stories about me. There's probably a lot of stuff in here my husband doesn't even necessarily know about me, or these are thoughts in my head. So that is another project that I'm glad I started, and I'm okay that I didn't finish because now it's evolved into a different project that I actually feel excited about. And since I'm still talking about this project, I want to talk just briefly about how I've set myself up for success with this. I decided to go with one simple style of product, and it's Heidi Swap, which I don't use a ton of her stuff, but I just really like the storyline chapter. I think that's what this is called. It's not a storyline chapter book. It's just a random notebook, but I picked up some of her product, some paper, and I'm keeping it super simple. And again, like I said, I experimented with this whole how did I want to do this, so I know what stamps I can pull to work on this. So this is a great project that I can keep all together and I can actually bring with me. Like I brought it with me on a retreat in February, and that's when I started working on it again. So I've talked about documenting life in my project life, those kind of albums, December Daily, Week in the Life, all of that. I've talked about kind of documenting stories, documenting planning and lists and those kinds of things. These books represent a different world that I enjoy being in, and that's playing. And I have quite a few other projects, but these are the three I grabbed because these are the ones that I've probably gotten the most joy out of creating. So let me talk first about this middle one here. This is a book that was created in, gosh, I don't remember when I did this. Hopefully there's a date. It's a handbook from Camp Wannacraft, from the Reset Girl. And I'm hoping there's a date here somewhere. But this was the first time I'd done all the camps that Corey Speaker, the Reset Girl, this is 2019. 2019, there you go. I'd done the camps before, but this is the first year that I feel like they really dove into this whole camp experience. There was a beautiful website, which they've brought back, that we use now as our clubhouse. Like, it's just, this in itself has evolved into something wonderful. But this was the year that I really fell in love with this, and I had so much fun creating this little book. So it was a lot of printables, and then it was an opportunity to play again with paper, which I had not done in a super long time prior to coming back to this style of a project. So it was really fun to just have an opportunity to play again with layering and paper, and just kind of getting away from this more like cleanish look of Project Life, where everything is tucked in pockets, nice and neat. And this was just kind of a little more willy-nilly, if you will. So this was a whole project where we were led through different classes, and there was different note-taking for the different videos and tutorials. And again, there was some documenting what was going on in life, and just kind of keeping track of different things. And I loved this process. So this was super fun to do, just some creative play. So I love this project. And so I have this book. This disc bound system is a little cumbersome. But this is the first time I played with sequins, and I didn't really have very many, which is laughable now. So I have tons. And I created like these dividers. And then there was things like just playing with sketches and just having fun. There was journaling, which still, I tried to embrace it. I really did. But it did bring me into my first kind of experience with any sort of faith journaling, Bible journaling, anything like that. So that was a fun experience to try out. I was super intimidated by the Bible journaling world and doing it in a Bible. I've done a few pages in a Bible, but it's just really not my thing. I'd rather have something outside of a Bible to do that in, with the exception of Bible frosting, which if you know, you know. So there's again, a lot of blank pages, but there's also a lot of pages that I really had fun. Like even these, like I wanted to do more journaling, prompting, listing, whatever. So I set myself up, but I didn't actually do it. Again, here would be these pages, but I really had fun just making the pages. And I look back on it and I'm like, wow, that was pretty cute. And this is almost like its own inspiration book for me to come back at and look for different ideas when I'm working through newer projects. So I did do, this is the first time I played with paint. I filled it with some multimedia, is that the right word? Multimedia? Mixed media pages, whatever. So I have those ready to go. And then I did play around a little bit with kind of getting back into documenting, scrapbooking. So I have some fun little extra pieces that I created. Again, trying to play with sequins. I really had no idea what I was doing here, which is pretty obvious. Full photo printing, documenting a little bit about my best friend, and again, some more blank pages. So this was a lovely, fun project. I keep this accessible so I can grab it for inspiration. And that helped me with this book. This was Camp Wonder of last summer. Not this past, but the summer before. So that would be summer of 2021. And I know there's a ton of videos on my channel for this, so I'm not going to bother paging through really any of it other than just to do a quick flip. But oh man, I'll tell you, this project, being the fact that it was like one of the only I've ever completed, is so near and dear to my heart. But it was super, I shouldn't say completed. because I didn't go back and do the journaling on the cards. So I'm calling it complete in my own mind. But I had so much fun playing with this. Then last summer, 2021, my year straight. Better hurry up and figure it out because we're coming up on a new one. Camp Reset was all about junk journaling. So I have this really fun dive into junk journaling, which I didn't know I was going to love so much. So I started playing with junk journaling. So this is a fun project because I can really just keep adding to this. There's no limits. It's not dated. It's just an opportunity to have fun and add whatever I want, whenever I want. So this has been fun to have, and I keep this also out for inspiration. I can tell that I'm not storing it well because it's getting really warped, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. So here are these 3 style projects. And I have other things that I know I've shown, for example, this kind of also, I would put this little gratitude documented book into this category. I would put my tags into this category. All of these different things that are kind of just play. Might be a little journaling, might be a little documenting, but it's mostly just to play and have fun. Okay, so next I have these type of projects. I don't know exactly what to call it. Maybe like a smash book, sort of. Well, that's what this one's called. I just did some videos this fall on this book, and I never documented any of this through, I don't think, any videos. But let me talk about these 2 projects and projects similar to this style. So this was also a Camp Reset project. This was the smash book for Camp Reset 2020. And this book, I chose to do these rings. And this is like a combination of junk journaling, documenting, journaling, storytelling. It kind of encompasses a lot of that. And it was really, really fun to work through. So there's a lot of these little pocket stories, little pocket artwork. And this is, I'm going to come back to this because there is a purpose for me talking about this particular style of a project because of something fun that's coming up in the new year. But this was the camp that Corey Speaker kind of became, if I remember correctly, infatuated with and obsessed with what she calls pocket fever. So these little pocket pages, which to me were not unfamiliar because of Project Life. I've been working in little pockets for years and years and years. So this was very comfortable and familiar to me. Uh-oh, we've lost a ring. Oof, that could have been disastrous. But at any rate, pockets. So this is what you'll see, and I'm going to do a quick jump through this one. So I always print out all the printables. I want to tangibly hold on to it. Paper. I love me some paper. There was some trackers, there were some lists, there were badges to be earned. There was the playbook, which is a product that the Reset Girl, Corey, had been doing for a long time. Or maybe not a long time at this point, but she'd been doing it. Kind of bringing back this whole divider creation that we used in the handbook from Camp Reset in 2019. There were opportunities. This was so fun. Let me get this out of the way. This was the first time that, well, you won't see it here, but the next couple pages, that I really got to embrace the idea of bringing back just that wonderful childhood imagination, pretending. This was what kind of led me into that arena. But this was me just quickly documenting what I deemed Bestie Fest that year. My best friend and I got away for a couple of days. And some of these photos are actually photos that I took or from what we were doing. And some of them are just photos I found on the internet. So it just captures kind of what we were doing, and without it having to be like this whole scrapbooked thing. There was some daily gratitude document, which again is very familiar and similar when I did Week in the Life and then carried it on through that little notebook I was talking about. This is probably where that started to plant a seed. I loved having this out, and every day, or maybe after a couple of days, I would come back in and I would just write a quick little thing about what did we do that day. Again, I didn't necessarily carry it through the whole summer, but I really enjoyed it when I did it. Again, there was like these little creative documenting pages, which I think I did a little better here. But this is fun to look back on and go, oh yeah, that's when I started reading these Pine County mystery books. I had, some goals, different things. Here, my mood was energized and happy. I certainly remember that. Here was some trackers. And again, I tried to do some documenting, but as you can see, again, kind of petered out. And per usual, nothing. That's okay. Moving right along. Got to play with some pockets. And that was probably one of my favorite things, was to just sit down and create these little pieces of art. So again, keep that in mind. I'm going to talk about pockets in just a few minutes here. This was a fun exercise of just doing a collage with, and then I chose washi. Putting down some word strips, just using some stuff up that I hadn't used in a long time. This is funny because I covered this because I think it said something like help Corey avoid COVID or something. And I just was refusing to document any of that stuff, especially at this point. I was not in a good space when it came to dealing with people and talking about COVID and how everybody was reacting to it. I was really, really angry at how so many people in my life were just overcome by fear of the virus. So I just was like, no, none of that in my life. So I changed it to beach day. And again, fun process in creating. Flashcards. This was such a fun little exercise because of creating these teeny little vignettes or little clusters. Word searches are always fun. I kind of putzed with that. Creating these little tiny squares, that was super fun. And then more pockets. So as you can see, I was really just enjoying myself here. This is what I wanted to share. This was the first kind of dive into pretend world, and I loved it. So this is basically my pretend camp experience of what I envisioned if I truly packed my bags, abandoned all adult responsibility, had nothing to worry about, and just went to camp. What would it look like? So these were images I found on the internet, Pinterest, things like that, printed them off, and I had so much fun creating this pretend little world that I could just pretend to be a part of. So I had things like, here's the main lodge, what our outdoor chapel looked like, what cabin assignments looked like when we arrived. I'm pretty sure this is from somebody's wedding. The mess hall, the lakeside fire pit. This is what my room might have looked like with my, whoever I was rooming with, our cute little cabins. Some arts and crafts, because if you ever went to summer camp, that is what it's all about. And look at this cute little crafty shed. Some of the crafts that I pretended we did was like fabric covers for our notebooks. We did some mixed media. We made t-shirts. We did cross stitch. We painted by number, which I truly do want to try. And then I'm all about food. So again, here is just a fun way to document, like, what would I want to eat? And look at, I sat here. That is actually something I would totally do. I said, chef made so many yummy meals and snacks and treats. The spreads were unbelievable. Like, wouldn't you die if you were somewhere and there was a canoe filled with food? This would be amazing. And, like, here's a delicious egg and cheese sandwich. I kind of really want to make that. Chicken salad. That actually prompted me to try making some really amazing chicken salad that year. And I think chopped up pickles is what added to that. Meats and cheeses, sandwiches. Like, you get the point. Like, truly, food I love food and creating food just about as much as I love creating paper stuff. And then again over here, things like the fun canteen, and you get the point. I'm really kind of enjoying myself here, but this was such a fun way. And look, I journaled. I wrote things out, and I did more in this pretend world of journaling and writing down experience than I do in my actual real vacations and stuff, because it was so easy to just pretend and just write and not have to worry about writing down like what I felt like or what did we eat. I could just make it up. So like here I wrote, this morning I got up early and took out a canoe with my Bible. It was magical. The sun was just coming up and the fog was lifting off the lake. Listening to the birds was so peaceful. I couldn't believe how luscious the woods felt during this afternoon walk. I came across a babbling brook and I felt like I had stepped into a dream, because that truly sounds like a dream. And I felt so lucky to see all the birds and wildlife, but nothing compared to seeing these friends, because every time I go camping, I really, really want to see things like this, but I'm really grateful I don't run into things like this. So that was a fun pretend world. Okay. This big, huge pocket, I participated in a postcard swap with all of my camp sisters, and that was fun. That's a great way to keep track of that. And this was what the homepage looked like for our little experience. These are actual photos I took that summer of different things I was doing, and I kind of liked the idea of these different viewpoints. And then I also tried to do some faith-based things. I didn't get super far, I don't think, in that either, but I did document some things here. Again, some pockets. This was fun to make. I did do a lot of scripture writing. That was the first time I did scripture writing. I wanted to do a whole thing about Joseph and I forget what we called it. Faith mentor or something. I forget what it was called. But here I wrote out Proverbs 16, 1 through 33. And that was really long, but it was fun. I played around with Procreate and created this Jesus Guard My Heart piece that I printed. That was a fun little adventure. More pockets, and then some scripture writing. So I have some of the writing done. I did quite a bit. And then I have space for scriptures I was going to come back to, because I'm the queen of come back tos and never doing them. And there you go. I also, at the back, kept sheets of stickers I printed out and different extra things so I could kind of grab and go, which is also something I truly enjoy. Then, this is the book I shared this past fall that I have through, let's see, when did it start? I think it started last spring, which I did 0. I pay for the product, and then I don't do any of it. So, okay, so I think this fall completed a full year of this book. So it was winter, spring, summer, and fall. Fall, I was challenged, and because I created some content for the First Love Club, I actually did do some of it, and I had high hopes for myself to really, really get into this. But again, here's where that whole pretend thing, like what fall looks like, that was really fun to do. And then the scripture writing and definitions and things like that, which I have some video on, and I had high hopes for this project, and I didn't get very far. I did some planning for it. And it's not to say I couldn't come back to this either. Probably won't, but I could. And then Camp Reset this year was Camp Joyful, which I did come back and revisit some of the same things I liked doing before, like the flashcards, these little bits here. And I set myself up to do that with like a whole kit. I've talked about that before. Summer was difficult this year because we were quite busy, and it was awesome. I loved it. Fall, same thing. Like, I think I bit off more than I could chew. And that's why I think my fall Seasons of Faith smash book kind of thing just kind of petered out. I have videos about these fall projects I started and was doing pretty good on. Loved this project, and I certainly will come back to it because I kept it out on my desk intentionally. And then, of course, I have my Advent cards, which Christmas got away from me, and I didn't finish. I'm on day 20, I believe. Yeah, so I have 21 through 25 to finish, which I'm going to do and just film quick little process and put them up here on my channel just in case anybody's interested, and also hold me accountable. That's probably the closest to a daily project I've ever come. Okay, so all those projects, my point of going through those and kind of walking down that road was that it will help me remember my one little word of less. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then also, I want to talk about what I'm going to be doing in 2023. As I was saying, less. One thing I reflected on and realized with, I just feel like I have to open something to have in front of me. So I don't just watch my hands, but, well, this isn't it. Let me close this up. This will be distracting. Okay. What I want to say to you and what I want to get across, the whole point of this, is that coming into 2023 and really focusing on less is going to be also about recognizing in myself that I am not good at finishing projects. I'm not good at daily projects. I'm not good at monthly, weekly. I'm not good at these things. But that doesn't mean I want to just say, well, I'm not good at it. I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to try. I see the value in it because when I do complete something, I love it. It feels great. Like, I'm super excited that this is going to be done in December. I might be a few days behind, but I'm okay with that. But I also recognize that sometimes when I don't finish a project, there's a reason. Maybe I'm just not good at trying to keep up with all these daily tasks. And to me, that's what it becomes, tracking things and doing things and documenting things. And sometimes it's just too much. So looking back on 2022, the projects I took on, what are the ones that I really enjoyed and which are the ones that I was like, whoa, too much? I have realized that I get really caught up in the excitement of a new kit released by Illustrated Faith. I have bought so many of their devotional kits this past year or two and never done any of the work. So when I thought about that, I realized the ones that I really truly like doing is Gratitude Documented in November and the camp, whatever camp they're going to do through the summer, which tends to be, I think, in June and July is when they do camps. So this year it was Truth Camp. Last year it was Camp Wonder. I really enjoyed those. I didn't finish Camp Wonder. I didn't finish Truth Camp, but I set myself up and I really enjoyed those projects. So I will continue to do those. Will I do all the other monthly ones? No. Oh, and Advent. I will do Advent. I really liked that. But I'm okay if next year I decide not to do that. I'm okay with that. I am not going to do Word Nerd. I never pick up the January one. I'm just going to stay away from the rest of them for this year. Now, that could change, but for right now, I feel like that will be a way of accomplishing less. Camp Reset. I love Corey. I consider her my friend, and I will always support the First Love Club. I will always support Corey and Mark Speaker, and I will continue to buy their products and do the things and try my hardest to do it because I want to support that. So I am saying yes to this here, which is the Holy Habits Faith book. Now I know Corey put her heart and soul into this, and she really, I think she and I are very much alike in this, that we struggle with all in, excited, doing this, and then it peters out because I think her and I are the type of people that we crave and love change in certain parts of our life. So she came back and created this Holy Habits Faith book. And this is kind of a conglomeration of several projects she's done over the years that she did kind of the same process. She just went through and looked at things and went, okay, what's really gotten a great response? What has given me great joy? Things like that. So I haven't found this yet. I and you can pick this up still in their shop. It was intended to be like a happy planner size, like I don't know what the size is, A4, A5, A6, all those A's, I don't know. I did print, let me grab it. I did print it in that size. You can see the difference here. And then I was going to trim it out, but my printer didn't print things the right way, like it's not lined up in the right way. And I don't know how to do that, and I'm too lazy to figure it out. But then when I was kind of flipping through this, unfortunately I didn't check my printer until I'd printed nearly the whole book. Whatever, I have the instant ink. It's fine, it's fine. This is not enough space for me. This is it's just not not gonna work for me. While it's cute and I can imagine having this cute little book, I don't think this is a good size for me. Like, that's just a little too small for me. So I'm okay with, I don't want to mix my books here, ditching this. I'm not gonna throw it away. I might come back and cut some parts out of it. So I'm holding on to that just for a few days. But this is intended to be kind of like the Smash book, kind of like the, what's the word I'm looking for? The Faith, Seasons of Faith. It's a little bit of all of it. So it's got some mood board stuff. Get this out of the way. And some spaces to do kind of like those little collages, but not too many, thankfully, because those overwhelm me. This first section, or this first season of 2023, I'm not sure how this is all going to roll out, but it's a focus on harmony. So there is just enough stuff to do, but not be overwhelmed. So the idea is to set up healthy, holy habits. And so you accomplish that get through these pages here, your holy habits. So she has the ABCDs of a holy habit. So it's ask according to the word, create with the word, study the word, do the word, and be the word. So A, B, C, D's, apostrophe S. I thought that was pretty creative. You have a calendar. You have a tracker. You have some space to do some documenting. You have some prompted documenting here. Some life documenting, which when I've done it, I liked it. And then you move into February and March, same thing. So it's very doable, and I'm hopeful that I will actually follow through on this and create something with this and document something. So I'm going to give that a go, but I'm not going to freak out about it. If I realize that this is not going to work for me, I'm just going to abandon it, and I'm okay with that. But this project I do feel excited about, and I feel like this is up my alley. This is Corey's Pocket Art Challenge. So much like I said, I would come back to these little pockets, these little pages throughout this book. This is kind of where this project is born from, is all of these little pockets. Like I said, Corey had what she calls lovingly pocket fever. And I loved it. It was fun to play. It was fun to use up product. It was fun to sometimes document something, sometimes not. And I'm very excited to play around with this again. So what my goals are, and I don't even like saying goals, what my hopes or what I'm hoping to be accountable to is the Pocket Art Challenge, which I'll share just a smidge more about that in just a second. The Pocket Art Challenge, my one little word, which is here, my one little word, and the Holy Habits Faith Book. These are my three creative projects that I'm going to put time into. In addition to this, I would love to work on my December daily and work on my Project Life catch-up books. But those are projects that I feel like I'm just going to have to sit down and just do. These are more of like an ongoing thing. So The project or the pocket art challenge, I'm going to link videos for you to check out because Corey goes through it in depth about this whole thing and supplies and all that stuff. But what she created and what she provides free of charge is a prompt sheet that goes through 52 weeks. So the intention is to have a weekly prompt, and that'll be your starting off point. And you can certainly ditch the whole whatever the prompts are and create your own version. And she even talks about that in one of her little videos. But you're prompted to create something every week. Now you could do this in a ton of different ways. Myself, I think what I'm going to do is I have to think about how I want to set myself up. But I want to give myself the freedom to just let this work in whichever way is possible for the season of life I'm in. Like when we get into summer, I have a teacher schedule. I'm not a teacher, but I work in an elementary school and I have a schedule of a teacher. So I have summers off, but then I have my 2 girls who are going to be this summer 13 and 5. Holy cow, I can't even believe it. Anyway, they are going to be 13 and 5 when we hit summer, and we have so much fun doing stuff. So while I'd love to be creative and have all this time, I just don't hold myself down to pin myself down to that. So that might look different then. But right now, coming into January, it's much cozier time. I'll definitely have more time. So one week it could be a 6x8 multi-pockets, and one week it could be a 3x8 little single. I've got so many options between all my 6x8 pockets for December Daily, all of the pocket sheets I have, page protectors for Citrus Twist. Can't think of what they call that. The Citrus Twist what are those little albums called? Doesn't matter. I just have a ton to work with. I also have my one little word album, which I work in 8.5 by 11, basically sheets and page protectors. So I have these pocket kind of protector pages. So I have plenty of options. I think I'm going to set it up in a 6x8 album on 6x8 pages, but I don't know. I might change my mind. So I'm going to be working through the Pocket Art Challenge for the whole year. And then, again, this is completely free to join in on, and I'll leave Corey to explain that if you're interested in jumping in and finding out more. And that is kind of where I'm at for looking ahead to 2023. I just need less pressure on myself to be doing all this stuff. And with that, I'm hoping to also find things like less commitments, over committing myself to things. That tends to make me crazy. Less spending. Shouldn't we all be doing that? Less indulgence. Maybe I need to be a little more mindful of what I'm eating, drinking, and my lack of exercise. So the flip of less is obviously it's more, right? So where did I put my little sheet here? More, I have my definitions, less and more. More is a greater or additional amount of degree of. Oh, I probably have to fix that. Do some editing there. A greater or additional amount of something. Not sure what that's supposed to say, but I'll fix that. So more could be, because that's usually how it goes, right? You kind of have the two work together. Like the year I was connect, I was also disconnect. I was connecting with things, but I also wanted to disconnect from things. I was faithful to things, or I had faith, and then there's unfaithful. I don't know what the opposite of change was. I guess that was not changing, static, staying the same. Doesn't matter. I didn't make it very far in that year. My point is that for more, maybe things that are more are like more intention. More focus on health, more focus on relationships, and with that goes less, right? Because something has to give, so it'll be less of something to give more of something. Hopefully this is making sense. So less spending. My husband has asked me and he's recognized both of us need to do this, especially after the Christmas season. We need to be mindful of our spending habits and what we're spending money on. We need less things in our life. We need more experiences in our life. Our kids need to learn that. I need less creative products, which I think will be great this year to challenge myself to use stuff up to create my pocket art challenge and work through my one little word, all that. So with all that said, I would love to know what your plans for 2023 are. Do you have any plans? Do you have any creative goals that you're aspiring to accomplish or do you even think about? Are you doing one little word? Do you have a word? Do you practice this every year? I would love to hear from you and know what does that look like in your life. Are any of these things that I just shared helpful or inspiring to you to do kind of your own self-coaching session and to look at what, pick any real thing in your life. For me, it's because of, you guys come here for creative stuff, so I'm going to share my creative world. But, maybe for you it is your health or it is money or it's finances or faith. Maybe you're looking to connect deeper in your relationship with God. Maybe that's a completely new thing for you. Maybe that's not even where you're at and you would like to explore that. I highly encourage you, if you do not know Jesus, I have plenty of content on this channel in my Have Faith playlist if you want to just get some exposure. Send me a message if you'd like to know more about Jesus. I'd be grateful for the opportunity to share who the Lord is with you. At any rate, I really, really hope that this time that you have spent with me has been of value, inspirational, and that I have prompted you to move forward with something that's going to help you have a great 2023. Or process through maybe 2022. What was great about it? What wasn't? This is kind of the time for that reflection, moving forward, goals, planning, all those things. So with that, friends, I am so grateful to have spent this time with you. I thank you so much always for showing up and checking out what I'm up to. I'd love for you to leave me a comment. Let me know what you're up to. And with that, if you liked this video, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to go ahead and do that. And then finally, hit the little bell so you're getting notified when new videos are posted. Because like I said, I've got this pocket art challenge coming up. I'm going to be working through one little word, and we're going to see if this holy habits actually creates habits in my life. And I'd love for you to join me on that journey. Take care, friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye.